Let me ask Congressman Hinojosa if he would be so kind as to come up and share with us a few words before we actually get started.
May I have? Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here at the podium with someone as distinguished as Michael Waterson, who has sort of set the groundwork for what we're going to do this afternoon. But I want to deviate from my prepared remarks and say that it's always a pleasure when I see in our audience someone as distinguished as a former congressman and former governor, Bob Wise. Won't you please stand and be recognized? He's a former governor of West Virginia and has always loved education and done a great job in trying to put together different meetings that I've attended with him. And I just want to say that when the governors met here 2 years ago at the Governors Association weekend meeting, they dedicated their focus on restructuring high schools throughout the country because of the very high dropout rate that we were having throughout the country, particularly as it was addressed for Hispanic students and for African American students. And I remember that you played a very important role in that weekend with all those governors, and that what we're going to be discussing today is a continuation of that work that was done. But also, on a personal note, I see in the audience a young man who worked in my congressional district office in Beeville, Texas, a young man from my congressional district in Mathis, Texas, and that would be William Moreno. William, I'm delighted to see you here. Thank you. He has left my office and gone on to earn a master's and MPA degree in Austin, and came and joined NEA as a representative of that organization. So delighted to see you at this first meeting, William. I'd like to thank the Campaign for High School Equity for organizing this briefing today. Meaningful access to the full educational program for English language learners is a civil rights issue. That was the premise of the landmark 1974 Supreme Court case Lau versus Nichols, which held that merely providing students with the same facilities, textbooks, teachers, and curriculum for students who do not understand English effectively forecloses them from any meaningful education. Just as it has been a struggle to realize the promise of Brown versus the Board of Education, the promise of Lau versus Nichols remains unfulfilled for English language learners. After World War II, in my home state of Texas, children used to be punished for speaking Spanish. I come from South Texas, where we were in a segregated school for elementary children, and I can tell you that it was so different than the school that was 2 blocks from my house that was totally white students. A few courageous teachers would close their classroom doors and use the children's native language to support their learning. Today, in a number of states, teachers are prohibited from using a language other than English in the classroom. In effect, teachers are required to violate a child's civil rights by not teaching the curriculum in a manner that is understandable to children who do not speak English. It is no wonder that teachers are frustrated and discouraged. No Child Left Behind aimed to put some teeth into the accountability for English language learners, but it has fallen short. The emphasis on the same test whether or not the student can understand the language of the test has thwarted our shared goal of equal accountability. The failure to focus on providing the content area instruction in a way that English language learners can understand has undermined schools' ability to demonstrate real progress for these students. We must focus on the core principle of the Lau decision, which is that states have an affirmative responsibility to provide access to the program of study to English language learners in a manner that is understandable to them. I can speak to that. I can tell you that when I went to school, the first grade, because back then we didn't have kindergarten, I couldn't understand our teacher. And our teacher couldn't speak Spanish. So there was a very difficult communication problem. And that has continued for decades for many of our English language learners.